because this article is written by someone that identifies as liberal. And
so they're not liberal, they just identify as liberal. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. I don't think people realize that, well, maybe they do realize that people are waking up to the fact that they've crossed a certain line where now they're starting to piss off people that are on their own side. And so let me just read this. In the National Post, who's this guy? Written by Alan Stratton. I'm a gay man on the liberal left who was raised in the 60s. I'm fully aware of the fear and dangers of outing mental health issues faced by LGBT communities, around stigma, demonization, and the hard-won battles we fought for civil rights and social acceptance. Yet I'm baffled by the hysterical reaction to Alberta Premier Danielle Smith's quite reasonable policies for minors who announces trans. Okay, so she's reasonable. She's not some white supremacist crazy loon. Smith declared policies legislation will restrict double mastectomies and genital surgeries for trans identifying minors in her province. Cross-sex hormones and blockers will be reserved for those over 15. Oh, by the way, just to, while we're talking about that movie doesn't hold up well, Silence of the Lambs, Buffalo Bill in that movie, they kept referring to him as a transsexual. And now, of course, we say transgender. And I just noted, it's interesting how important language is, that transsexual and transgender, like we now, because why? Because sex and gender aren't the same. And now we have that divergence and that cell has split. And now we can start to really manipulate, because the language is kind of this space of the mind, right? That's how you think. You think in language. You control the language. You control the thoughts. Anyway, blockers will be reversed for those over 15, except for those currently in treatment. Parental approval will be required for schools to use new names and pronouns for kids under 16. Sex-based rules for sport will be explored. Yes, so another thing is that girls and women who don't want to compete against transgender athletes can go compete in a third category for, I guess, just biological girls. So it's interesting. It's like, oh, you're excluding transgender people. It's like, no, you're actually being more inclusive. You're providing another category to make it more inclusive for all types. So I find that hilarious. But basically, Danielle Smith is trying to protect kids from going under an actual literal knife by having the reproductive organs permanently altered, permanently changed, permanently removed, when they're 12, when they're 14, and trying to protect kids. And the left are kind of setting their hair on fire about this, and they're really losing their minds. So, Tim, I'd like to get your kind of thoughts on this in Alberta. How's the premier doing, and what do you see kind of boots on the ground? And then Dave, also, I want to hear about this issue over in Ireland, because I don't hear about it over here. So, Tim, can we start with you?
I think Danielle did or Premier Smith, let's say, she did a very, I'm going to say, a compromised position. Now, the other side won't think it's a compromise at all. They're thinking people are out to kill them. But I have 8 kids, right? I've raised 8 children with my wife, and young children and minors, like 12, 13, 14, there's a reason we don't let them make big life decisions when they're little, because they just do not have the mental capacity or life experience to make good decisions. And you as a parent, you're supposed to grow them and raise them and help them. And you slowly wean them off major decisions, or you wean yourself off from making major decisions as you see the wisdom and understanding of the reality of the world growing in your kids. So by the time, hopefully, they're 18, they can make some decent life choices. But to think that a 12-year-old can make a major decision like whether or not to cut off body parts, it's mind-blowing to me that any adult would think like that. Right? We don't let kids drive by themselves till they're 16. They can't get a drink till they're 18. In the States, you can't get a drink till you're 21. But the leftists in our society want kids at the age of 12 making decisions about cutting off their genitalia. It's a complete lack of understanding about human nature and psychology. Now, I'm probably going to get more death threats from saying that on the internet. But it's strange times we live in.
Yeah. We had James Lindsay out from the States. He came in, I think he's from Tennessee, to speak about this in Edmonton and Calgary. And he mentioned, but this is like a page straight out of the playbook of Mao in communist China, with his Great Leap Forward. And it was about arresting the minds of the children and of the youth, because if you can't control the children, you can't control the future. And so get the kids. And the point of queer theory, and it has nothing to do with queer theory has nothing to do with actual sexuality and who you're attracted to. The point of it is to destabilize them and to remove them from any solid sense of self and identity.
It's strange. Like it's kind of the same here. It's not it's not pushed as much yet, but it's getting there. Like I've been very open about how I feel about all of this, and one is just like, leave the kids alone. Like, leave the kids. Do not sexualize children. Children are innocent. Protect their innocence. Let them be children. That's fine by me, but you got to protect children. And then to negate science and just basically say, well, I am now a woman or I am now a man. Unfortunately, you're not. Like, your chromosomes, right down to everything on a cellular or molecular level, tells you you're not. How does a man think he knows what a woman feels? How does he know? He doesn't know. He thinks he knows. He thinks he knows, so he doesn't know. Like, can a man get ovarian cancer? No. You know, can they get pregnant? Do they menstruate? No, they don't. Women do. Women are so special and so important and so magical that they're able to carry a child and give birth to it. And a man just decides, well, that's what I am now. I'm sorry, it's just not the way it is. It's just not the way it is. And what I find, and I've got gay friends, male and female, and they're even sick of this, because they're like, well, we have fought for so long for our rights to be recognized as gay people so we can get married and live a normal life. And now we're being labeled with this other group of people that we don't want to be involved with. It's like, why are you labeling us with them? So you can get a load of homophobia going against these groups of people, and then you can label them with hate speech. Maybe that's where they're going with it. But when you have the gay community coming out and saying, we've had enough of this. Like, Pride Day in Dublin was a big festival, and then it started getting seedy. Well, you can't have a guy naked, right, with sexual toys hanging out of him and swinging himself all around the place during the day at a parade with children. You can't do it. If I was a maniac off my mind and I decided to run down the middle of any main street at any time of the day naked and go, I'm this type of person, I'd go to jail. I'd be locked up. So, I mean, you can identify to be whatever you want, and I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. That is no problem. But to think you're something that you're not. I watched an interview with a guy, and he basically said it this way: this is like blackface for women. And I went, oh my God, that's exactly what that is. Now, you can feel like you want to be a woman, and that's okay. I worked in nightclubs doing security for years, and we had a load of transvestites in, and my God, beautiful human beings, really good. They did their thing. And it was the first time I actually came in contact with somebody who was a transvestite. A big dude with a beard, and he had all his glitter on and his skirt, and he was having a great time. And there was a whole community and beautiful, beautiful people. But they knew they were transvestites. That was their thing. That's what they wanted to do, and nobody batted an eyelid. And I mean, nobody really cares what you want to be. What's happening is you're pushing it on us that much that we're going, well, now we care. Stop teaching children pornography. A child doesn't know what they are. They haven't a clue. There's a clip on YouTube of a kid with I presume it's his father in front of him, puts down $10,000 cash in front of him, and he puts down three cookies. Yeah?
Yeah.
And the kid takes the cookies. What does that tell you? What's also not discussed is after these people transition, the rates of suicide. That's where the rates of suicide come into it.
Yeah.
It's after they transition. And when these guys post-transition are trying to speak up about what happened to them, they're being shut down. Their lives are ruined. As we talked about, Tim, as you said, like, they're cutting off genitalia. and at a young age where, hold on a minute, I made a mistake here. I want to have children. Well, you can't have children now. Well, Dr. So-and-so told me this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
How dare they? And for a parent to push that on their own children is child abuse. I looked at another interview, and this guy is married to another this trans person, let me get that right, is married to another trans person, and they've got two trans children.
What are the odds, eh?
Yeah, like, exactly. Like, the majority of the trans community are in California, am I right? I think the highest.
Toronto, yeah, we got some.
Yeah, no,
sure.
use that. And again, like, if that's what you want to identify as, that's okay by me. I have all kind of weird and wonderful friends, but you get old enough, you make that decision for you, and you live with that consequences for you. Do not push that on anybody else, and definitely leave the children alone. If a kid grows up and is this what you want to do? I still think that's too young. But again, if that's what they want to do, be it on you, you know? But if you don't agree with them telling you this is what the kids are happening, you're a right-wing extremist. I'm not a right-wing extremist. You know, I'm far on the other side. You know, it's crazy. It's just it beggars belief, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse.